Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Lions Den podcast. Here to talk about everything Blue Leon. And we do have quite a lot to talk about. Just the major news, as the title of this podcast is called, Nacho Ambriz is back. So we'll definitely have loads to talk about that. And obviously just kind of recapping what happened in Doble Jornada that led to this decision of the departure of Berrizo and arrival of Nacho Ambriz. So for everybody listening, hello and welcome. And you're more than welcome to drop your comments, anything in the chat, and we'll definitely make sure to share them on screen. So, Louis, how do we feel after a doble jornada and kind of finally, getting to a point of Berrizo is finally out and Nacho
Well,
Ambriz is back?
first and foremost, just let me say thank God for baseball. It's keeping me sane in these tough moments for our club. I still had a glimmer of optimism the last time we podcasted, which was, I don't know, at least 3 weeks, maybe even a month ago now. We were still in a pretty good spot standings wise, with still so many matches to go at that point. I mean, and honestly, we've only dropped one spot since then, but the calendar has fewer and fewer opportunities left on it to make inroads, make headway in the table and save the season. And, I think the upper and ups, they really didn't want to fire another coach and deal with a whole new contract and a whole new everything and a whole new process and all that. You could tell they were hanging on for dear life to what they had and hoping it would turn around. And ultimately it just became untenable. I mean, it had already been untenable, but it got to a breaking point. They finally made the move, and they brought in a rather surprising choice for me, maybe not for others. It's not the direction I thought it would go. I think it has as much to do with good vibes and nostalgia as it does with actually thinking that there's going to be a major seismic shift in the state of the club's football-wise on the pitch. We'll see. That remains to be seen. But I mean, with so much going wrong in the last few months for this club, so many bad vibes, something that, gives us a little hint of something nice, of good memories from our past, and the last true dominant era of this club, the last person who was brought in and really turned what I would have called at the time he came for his first stint, a ragtag bunch of misfits, and he turned them into a multi-year powerhouse in the league.
Yeah.
And he was the last person to really do that, and props to that. And the only thing is, they say that you can't go home again for a reason, and a lot of times these second stints brought in for nostalgia purposes, and if that's on anyone's mind at all, sometimes it doesn't go well in the end. So any sort of skepticism hovering around that, I certainly have my share of it, would be warranted and would be understandable. But at the end of the day, the last truly great coach of Club Leon is back for round 2. And there's no way that on some level that's not going to give us a good feeling inside, a warm and squishy, fuzzy feeling inside. Again, I can't say it enough. This is the last great coach, or at least the man who was at the helm the last time this team had a truly great era. And yes, I realize that we won the Conca Champions after that, and that was maybe the most amazing thing that's ever happened to this club. But that did not kick off. That should have kicked off another dominant era, and it just simply didn't. That was more of a flash in the pan. What Ambriz had before that seemed more sustainable. And at the time of his first departure, I thought it was time. I thought, he didn't seem like he wanted to be here anymore. He had the dream of coaching a national team somewhere, which didn't exactly happen the way he wanted. I don't really think. He had some nice coaching positions after that, certainly, but nothing what he envisioned when he left the first time. I don't think he ever really attained, if we're being quite honest. And then we found out later that there was some shady dealings between his representation and our ownership group here in León that kind of made bridges burn for a while. And that, if anything, that more than anything else, was why I was ever skeptical about ever seeing him again. on the bench for Leon, but apparently bygones are now bygones, at least enough to the point. Enough fences have been mended to where they were willing to bring him back. And I think the general consensus is more positive than negative about this. Maybe you have a different opinion, but at least that's what I've seen. And let me just shout out to the media team on Club Leon. You guys are still undefeated. The intro video they made for him on the motorcycle coming into the stadium was maybe the coolest thing I've ever seen. We all know that Ambriz, he's a pretty cool cat. He loves his motorcycles, and I loved how they worked that into the video. So just first thoughts with it. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know. What are you thinking? What are you thinking about this?
I have the mixed feelings. So I agree in the extent of second time around, is it a wise decision, especially kind of how you like to remember like etapas de coaches that come and leave a mark in a certain way, as is, and obviously you do reminisce with like wanting them, wanting to have the same effect the second time they come back. Not that it can't be done or be successful, but um it is interesting. Like, I'm very curious to see what the rest of the season looks like, if it's salvageable, and what next season looks like. If we look back to when Nacho Ambriz was here, he was here from September 2018 to May 2021. So from that first time he was here till now, we've had 5 different coaches. We've had Olan, Paiva, Larcamon, Bava, and Berrizo. He's no Mexicans in between. Like he was the only Mexican coach. Argentine and Uruguayan and Portugal, which Spyro is kind of like a flush. So I'm just really, really curious. I mean, obviously, I think as the years gone by, everybody still sticks to that reminiscence of like, oh, Nacho needs to come back. And obviously, Carlos, who I'm soon maybe listening to us, has said that throughout the different podcasts throughout the years. So every time that like the coach is gone, it's always like Nacho, Nacho, Nacho. So this time I was really, really surprised of his return. And like Louis said, that video was really like just gave me chills. Like just seeing him like in the stadium, and like the way like the social media team played that was brilliant. When I saw it, just gave me chills because it did give me that like spark of like, you know, the Nacho Ambriz era that we all fell in love with Leon again, kind of like from when Matosas were there, we all fell in love with that Leon. So I did get chills because I was like, oh, cool. I am just really nervous because I don't know the expectations. We look at the current team, and I think we have decent and really good talent. I think it's just Berrizo no le halló. Like, no supo hallar, like, his team. Did you freeze, Louis? Or did I freeze? Oh no. Maybe some technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of connectivity issues as usual.
No worries. I thought I froze, so I wasn't sure if you froze or I froze. And I was like, what's happening? No worries. Sure glad you got back.
Yeah.
But no, I was just saying it's kind of a bit nerve-wracking with, you know, what are the real expectations the second time around? Are the fans setting too high of expectations or not? I don't know what you think.
Well, for now, I don't think there's a ton of pressure because I kind of feel like no matter what happens, this is a bit of a lost season. You know, it's amazing that with such poor play for so long, we managed to stay in the play-in spots, and now we've only ducked one spot out of it. We're in 11th and just 1 point behind 10th, and obviously 10th is still the final play-in spot. Obviously, teams that qualify in the 10th spot don't have a ton of aspiration of making it all that far, but that would be a play-in spot. But I mean, it's 7 points. We're 7 points back of the last non-play-in spot of 6th place. We're 7 points back of 6th place. And that's just not a good place to be heading into, what is it, Jornada 12 that we're going into? There's just not enough. There's not enough time to make up the number of points that we would need to call this. I mean, unless we just go on a super Torrente tear and win every single match that we have left. I mean, unless we do something like that and just go on a tear and get every single one of the points we have available to us remaining, unless something like that happens, I think it's kind of a lost season. So I don't think, I mean, it's kind of like when Ambriz came in the first time, at least then we had Copa MX in play. He got us to a Copa MX semifinal in his first season, but did not make Liguilla. So if he doesn't make Liguilla this time, we don't have that Copa MX to rest our laurels upon, so to speak. But I think this is mostly about next season and beyond. But it'll be really interesting to see, I don't know, what can he do? I mean, is it going to be enough of a jolt to win a couple of these next few matches that we have and then start changing the narrative? I'm happy to be wrong about this being a lost season. It's just like that last home game against Mazatlan where we were winning 2-0 and everything was going well, and then we just coughed it completely up against one of the worst teams in the league at home. That just seemed like the something that would happen to a team that ain't going anywhere anytime soon. And okay, we bring in Nacho and the vibes are a little bit better. And, I just feel like anything he does the rest of this season is going to be kind of a bonus. And that it's really going to be next season where we see, also depending on, player movements, lots of rumors about James and how there's no interest neither from his camp nor from the club of a renewal, which is kind of sad to me that there isn't even talks about that, because I think he's, when he's been available and healthy, he has made a huge difference, in my opinion. But so it depends on what kind of player movement. There's a lot of stuff. Are they gonna sell the majority of the?
I think Louis froze. Sorry, guys, having some technical difficulties. Sorry, guys. Just technical difficulties. Sometimes Mexican Wi-Fi is not the best. While we wait for Louis to come back.
Sorry, I really wish.
There you are.
I really wish this wasn't like this. I'm sorry. I don't know what. I mean,
No worries.
Supposedly, my connection is supposedly healthy. It just doesn't translate to whatever to this application, or I don't know what. It's very, very frustrating. I wish it wasn't like this. Anyway, just to finish that point, I don't think there's a lot of stress for him to turn to work miracles this season. I mean, even it's not like, vibes were so low coming into this season anyway, after everything that happened with Leagues Cup and everything that happened with Club World Cup not working out and all that. Whatever he accomplishes at this point between now and the next Jornada Uno will kind of be a bonus. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm happy again. I'm happy to be proven wrong. They could go on a Torrente or a Chavo Diaz tear. Both those guys came in similar situations to what we're in now, a long time ago now. But they both came into similar situations and they put a jolt of energy into the club, and we ended up making Liguilla and going on a little bit of a run in both instances. So anything's possible. But this is mostly a vibes hire for now. I don't think anyone is really thinking about this as this is going to save our season and this is going to save our club futbolísticamente, because there's just so many carencias. There's just so many things are going to have to go right for that season to get turned around the way it would need to. So We'll see. We'll see. It starts with. I think it's interesting that of our remaining opponents, a few of them are teams that were also coached by Ambriz. We've got Toluca coming up next. That was his last club was obviously Santos, but before that he was with Toluca, and they brought him in to. Toluca has finally kind of figured it out with El Turco. But before that, they brought in a few ex-León coaches who were going to be the guys to really, get them over the hump, and it just never worked out. And those guys ended up lasting a very short time. Ambriz was one of those guys. So I'll bet he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to play against Toluca. We've still got America left to play. I'm sure he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder for that one too. I think he probably feels like he got a little bit of a raw deal there. Like that was they cast him off before he eventually found his way to León and thrived. So, I do think that's one interesting little tidbit. We've got a few of his ex-teams, his ex-puestos coming up before the season's out, and I expect those to be hard-fought games no matter what.
Yeah. Looking at, as you mentioned, the remaining schedule, I mean, let's look at it and think, obviously, theoretically, what can happen. Obviously, we'll give our predictions on the León Toluca in a bit. So we're away at Santos and away at Atlas, 2 away games. I think those are pretty doable wins. What do you think?
Yeah. Problem is, it's a doble jornada and two straight away games, complicated travel. Yeah. As you know, Torreón is the most difficult place to get to in Liga MX, as we both well know. And then after that, they've got to get to Guadalajara and play another away game on short rest. And those playing away at Atlas, I know we've got a lot of good results there over the years, but playing away there is never easy. Torreón against Santos away is also kind of the same thing. We've got a lot of good results there, but it's either, I feel like it's either we go in there and get a hard fought win, or it's just not competitive. Those are the two options. So. I don't know. On paper, those we still have. So this is jornada 12. So we have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 6 matches left, right? And
correct.
3 of those are against Atlas, Santos, and Puebla at home.
Yes.
Theoretically,
those at home,
and Pumas at home. Okay, we've got Santos, we got Atlas, and America. We got Santos, Atlas, America away. We've got Toluca, Puebla, and Pumas at home.
At home.
I think this Toluca match is really important. Let's say the matches that should be 3 points are. Let's say we get 3 points against Puebla, Santos, and Atlas, who are invariably worse teams than we are, even though we are not a great team at the moment anyway, either. But I don't think anybody would say those 3 teams are better than us on paper. So let's say those are 9 points, and let's say away at America is a schedule loss. I think Pumas and Pumas. What's the other one? Yeah, Pumas at home is probably a win, but I'm kind of on the fence about that. So I think this Toluca match is very, very important. Toluca's been a buzzsaw. I mean, they've just been clowning fools left and right.
They're scary right now, especially as we're coming in with.
They're clowning fools left and right. They've invested mightily in talent in all the right spots, and they are a well-oiled machine. It finally worked out for them after so many years of spending and not really getting where they needed to be. They have clicked, and they're a buzzsaw right now. They have not let off the gas at all since their title run a season ago. But if we can somehow get in there and feel inspired with the return of Ambriz, playing at home again, and if we can find some magic there, anything can happen in any given 90 minutes in this league. That's the fun thing about it. If they can somehow get 3 points out of this Toluca match, that could change the entire perspective for what comes next. Because they have a fecha FIFA after that. and then
Yeah.
they go away to Santos. Santos is playing for even less than we are. If they can go in, you and I have been to several matches up there where Leon just goes in and takes care of business. There's no reason they can't do that again. And then all of a
That's why
sudden,
I'm
you're
saying that
probably
game
only
against Santos
yeah.
be a win.
Yeah.
Atlas, I'm saying a draw just because those matches kind of seem, kind of intense. And obviously we're away, so after like you mentioned about the travel, I could see that game as a draw. Home to Pumas, I'm counting that as a win. America, I think by that, I'm hoping by that time Nacho has figured out like a good legitimate 11 that could, could win. If not, obviously I'd be happy with a draw. And then home to Puebla, I mean, that'd be good to end in a win. So it has the possibility to being a very optimistic finish if things kind of roll out the way we want it to.
Yeah, ending the season at home to Puebla. That should, you should be like, that's all. That should always be 3 points. But you just know that we're going to need to win that match to qualify for something. Whether it's to get just to get into the play-in or to have a home play-in game to be the 7 or 8 instead of the 9 or the 10. It's going to be something like that. And you just know it's going to be a massive struggle because we always struggle in those situations. When it's time to just take care of business, we just never can. Man, I'm already dreading it. And that's not for another 6 weeks or 7 weeks.
It's the fact that like we've been through that like schedule, like last like exactly scenario that you said that we're like you said you're already feeling that like, oh my god, that could be a possibility that we're in that same situation once again. What a surprise. Nothing new. So yeah, I do believe, like you said, this game against Toluca will be crucial. Obviously they've been on fire and they've been smoking team, so have a really good squad. I think they have a really good they're in a really good momentum under Turco. They just they look really, really good. But we're home, so it's we do have a bit of advantage there, and I'm hoping for the best. Going back to what you had mentioned about the James is that whole thing, to me, it's just really draining personally because I'm just like, let's just focus on we have Ambriz. Let's just focus on adapting our players to how he wants to play. Let's just focus on trying to end the season well, trying to get to plan, trying to just clasificar, like just focus on that. Like people, I guess, get so wound up with like, oh my God, is he gonna stay? They're gonna leave. Like right now at this point, he is with the team and he will play to the end of his contract, which is in December. So let's just focus on that. And I think I just get really annoyed with like the social media still questioning it now, like in this past like 2-3 days. And I'm like, just leave it alone, guys. Like you're just winding up something that we don't even know. And what we do know right now is that he has a contract and he had said he's gonna play. And let's just focus on trying to end this season the best way possible. And just it's just nonsense noise. It's like it's like whenever we've criticized like we're playing Liguilla and there's like, oh, one of our Leon players is gonna leave, and we're like, well, why do we need to know that right now? We're like in the middle of like Liguilla. You know?
I completely agree. I just think it's kind of an occupational hazard of having a player that well known that of that talla of that. It's always going to be a bit of a media circus when you have a player like that, and a bit of a there's always going to be extracurriculars that you don't want to have to think about that are just always going to be there a little bit. It's just a shame. I think if they, especially this past off season, had done their due diligence and brought more of a team around him, he's the kind of guy who needs the pieces around him to work in order for him to be at his best. Or at least, in Colombia, he might not have like the most talented squad around him, but they understand him intimately and they are at his behest at all times. And it's never going to be like that in a club. You have too many contrasting personalities, and we just haven't had. Berizzo was never the guy to get it all to click. I wish that I wish at the time when we hired Berizzo, they'd gone for Turco instead, because Turco just comes in and he makes it all click. Toluca had so much talent, they just couldn't get it to work, and they brought in a guy, and he's like, okay, no messing around. We're gonna make this work, and they have, and now they're a buzzsaw. And there's no reason that can't happen in Leon. I stand by the fact that there is a lot of talent on this team. I mean, you look at our once ideal. People put out the once ideal, and you're like, man, there's a lot of talent there. Ismael Diaz might be the hottest young goal scorer in CONCACAF. Jordi Cortizo has been very, very solid. Nene Beltran, despite where he came from, I think he's been very, very. I think he's been a great addition. Sebastian Santos, he still has his ups and downs as a young player, but he's been called one of the up and coming right backs in CONCACAF. Also, there's a team there. You look past all the bad results and all the fuera Berizzo and all the negative energy and all the Leagues Cup and the Club World Cup and all the stuff that didn't go. You clear that all away. There's a team there that is capable of doing some good things, and we'll see if there's enough time for it to still happen this season. Even if they just keep fighting their way to 10th or 9th, and they get ousted right away, without even making it to Liga proper. I'm still planning on going to all the away matches that remain in the season. I had to miss a couple for commitments this season, but we have three away matches left in Torreon, in Guadalajara, and in Ciudad de Mexico. I'm planning on being present at all those, and I want them to mean something. That's all I ask. Yeah. That's all I ever ask for. I want them to mean something. And so this Toluca match at home, if they could somehow, I think a draw against a team like that and under the circumstances would be a positive result, but I don't know if that's a positive enough result to get us thinking about anything further down the line. If they can somehow muster up whatever bit of magic they need to outplay Toluca for 90 minutes and get that result at home, that win, I think that could be massive. I think we come back on this show next week excited and, talking about things in a little bit different terms. We're not there yet. They have to prove that they're worthy of us bringing that narrative back. Because right now, I'm the last one who would ever want to say this, but I already did. It's feeling like a lost season. So they're going to have to put in the work to prove that it isn't. It's basic. It's pretty much that simple.
Yeah, I think I'm just going game by game and kind of seeing kind of what's in Ambriz's mind. What's starting 11 is he playing with? Obviously, like we mentioned, I think there is talent. I think it's just a matter of having the best 11 and the best ups to complement that when needed. So I'm just really curious game by game how that changes if he, what a starting lineup could look like versus Toluca, and then in the next couple of matches, obviously, like you had mentioned, there's Fecha FIFA. So after that, it will be interesting and kind of seeing like who are his guys, who are his guys that he's gonna keep. Obviously, the thing with Berizzo is that Oscar Garcia was in goal, and I would like that to continue. Will Nacho think the same or not? Obviously, Sebastian Santos was also Berizzo's guy. Will he continue or not? So I'm just very curious what he thinks. Will we see different changes? Will we see possibly different couple of lineups or versus Berizzo? So I think Berizzo had a couple of good moments with some stuff, but yeah, especially after that Mazatlán game, I think I got to a point where I was like, okay, no jugamos a nada. We need to at this point of the season, just let them go. Obviously, thinking it's doble jornada, quick turnaround would not be possible. And I was like, even if he just draws, if he doesn't lose, if he draws the next game, like he has to go. If we're not seeing anything different than we've seen already. So yeah, I'm just glad
Yeah.
that kind of moved on. Larissa moved on.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it was time.
you know, in terms of his guys in the roster, well, one interesting thing to note is Leon, with 6 matches left to go, has already covered their minutes quota for juveniles.
Yeah.
So there's that will not be taken into consideration at all in terms of like who can play. Oscar Garcia, I don't think anybody would see, not even Nacho, any reason to replace him with either of the other 2 options that we have.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously, Nacho Ambriz has history, I think, with both of the other goalkeepers. But I mean, Oscar Garcia is he's the máximo atajador. He has the most saves in the league right now. Like, I don't think there'd be any reason. I could see him making adjustments in other places. I mean, maybe like Ivan Moreno instead of Santos. Maybe he wants to play Jordi Cortizo and James together, which Berizzo seemed not to want to do ever, really, except for short spurts. Maybe he goes back to Plátano Alvarado. Like, Plátano hasn't gotten on the score sheet yet, and you could tell that Berizzo wasn't trusting him as much. Will he put Ismael Diaz back on the left where he was playing for a while, because he was playing more on the right, it seemed like, these past couple matches.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things he can do. I'll tell you one thing that I forgot to mention earlier when we were just getting into all this. One thing I like about this particular second stint with Nacho is that basically none of the guys he coached before are still here. The only ones who are still here are Barreiro and Poncho Blanco, who probably won't even play. Barreiro will not play against Toluca because of yellow card accumulation. But I like that there's that one guy who's kind of the go-between. Like, he can, he was there before. He knows Nacho very well, and he can be the go-between between the old era and the new era. But I like that Nacho hasn't really coached most of these guys before, so he's got a clean slate with them. I think that is one thing that could be working in his favor. Because there isn't going to be like that hangover. It's been long enough. There hasn't been that hangover where he's going to try to do things the same way that he did before. He can't, because he doesn't have the same personnel. So I think that's one thing that could be working in everyone's favor. It might give him, that might be counterintuitive for some people. No, it'd be better if he had most of his old team still there, because then he could just run right back into what he was doing. I don't know about that. No, I think it's better to have a clean slate. So I like that. Also, Nacho, did he get plastic surgery or something? Because he looks different than the last time we saw him.
I was like, leave that man alone. If he wanted to, get some Botox or get something just for him to. This is the thing that annoys me with people. Se clavan tanto with how he looked before, and then now they're like how he looks now. And I'm like, as long as the man feels good, leave that man alone. Just just the banter of oh, did we hire this person? Because how is with Nacho's looking like? I'm like, you guys are just me. No dan gusto para nada.
No. He looked fine before, and he looks fine now. He just looks very different. So it was seeing him the first time after coming out of hibernation for all those years. He looked very different.
I do think he got some work done. That's kind of the major differences I see. Which, I mean, if someone asks him if he admits it, props to him. But yeah, I'm just leave that man alone, because I really enjoyed the.
Oh, it's not a complaint. It's just an observation.
Yeah, that was funny. ¿Qué más? Yeah, like you mentioned, Curly sitting in 11th place. Top 4, no surprise. Monterrey, América, Cruz Azul. In 5th is Tigres. Xolos have been the surprise this season. Juárez in 7th, Pachuca in 8th, Chivas in 9th, Pumas in 10th. Obviously us in 11th, and it's San Luis, Santos, Atlas, Necaxa, Mazatlán, Querétaro, Puebla. No surprise, unfortunately, with how this league works. But yeah, I think like we mentioned, crucial game up, against Toluca just because it's at home, the first one, kind of setting the tone for what the rest of the season will look like. Um, and yeah, trying to think if there's anything else.
Just as an aside, I despise being behind Juarez and Tijuana at any point in the standings ever. That should just never, ever, ever happen. And not only are we behind them, they're the last two opponents we faced away, and they completely boat raced us. There's just no excuse for that. There's no excuse for it, ever. We should never, those are cheap, poorly run teams that we should never, ever, ever be behind. I'm just going to say that.
I need to make a hot take video, or like a different second video, because I think we've been missing those lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that they actually trained in the stadium?
I did, but I didn't realize that hadn't been a thing. I didn't realize that they hadn't been doing that. It had been a while since they'd done that. I just assumed at least one training every week, sometimes two, would have been there, but apparently that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I assume everything obviously was in as much as teams have training grounds and stuff, but I do think it's at least a couple or to one time in a week that they should. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. How is Pachuca on 17 points? I feel like they've been awful.
Yeah, it's a very. I think Liga MX sometimes a very misleading league. When you see some results and then after you kind of see them on the table and it's kind of like, but didn't they just get killed like a couple weeks ago? But
yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm like really zooming in into Nacho Ambriz's face, I mean, this man is like just totally different.
Yeah.
But he does look good in Leon Green, so
he does.
Like we said, it kind of just brings you back to those times, those good times.
Yep, all decked out in the Charlie gear. Yeah. It was still Pirma the last time he was coaching here.
Yeah, you're right. Anything else, Louis, before we give our predictions for Toluca?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the Ambriz thing was the big fish to fry, and then if they want to get us to care about the results again, I mean, obviously I always care about the results, but as the fan base as a whole, if they want us to get us to care about the results again, they got to earn it.
About obviously, like you mentioned, there's Fecha FIFA. It's like obviously it's a good time frame. Obviously for players not to get called up to stay, especially focusing Liga MX. But we will see if James does report with Colombia.
If he gets called up, he'll report. That's the only place he's happy.
True. Alrighty. So home against Toluca. Toluca currently on first with 25 points. I feel like obviously Leon and Toluca games are really entertaining to watch. They've always been really entertaining to watch. So I'm expecting a pretty good matchup. Obviously they're coming from winning against Mazatlán 3-1 and obviously the 6-2 against Monterrey. So Louis, give me your prediction for Partido en el Glorioso, Nacho's back. Obviously, I'm assuming the fan base will, recibirlo con los brazos abiertos, chanting his name, Ambriz back. What is your prediction?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a little spicy here. I think Leon somehow finds a way to get a 3-2 victory. I think Ambriz, he always encouraged every roster that he had here to. He never wanted them to be conservative offensively. He wanted them to go take risks and show their quality. And I'm not there in the trainings. I don't know what's going on. what he's telling the guys. But I imagine something along the lines of just go out there and go for it. Go for the goal. Don't. Berizzo was just so conservative, and it rarely worked in his favor. And they're not going to want that. They're going to want somebody who's going to go out there and tell the guys to show their quality. Maybe Platano gets a start again, and maybe he gets on the score sheet for the first time this season. Ismael Diaz is still, I think he's on 5 or 6 now. He's still, he scored against Mazatlan. He's still up there among the leaders. Toluca just has too much quality to get a clean sheet on him. That is not going to happen. But we're gonna go out there in front of the home fans, play hard, get a 3-2 somehow, some way. We're gonna get it. There'll probably be a penalty. Maybe we get lucky and a Toluca player gets sent off. Who knows? But somehow they're gonna do it.
I just realized that in the Campeones Cup, LA Galaxy plays Toluca today. So I guess we'll see if there's any lineup this weekend.
Well, I'd say we'll have to see what kind of lineup they use in that Campeones Cup, like how important they see that.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally forgot about that cup. Okay, Louis said 3-2. I mean, if that happens, that would be awesome. Super good confidence boost, especially as it's not just first game returning against Toluca. I'm gonna say 2-2 draw, just because obviously I think us being at home will play an important aspect, as home advantage does. But I also, the Lucas, they just are playing really, really, really well. Defensively, I think we still have a lot to work on. But if we just need to have a really good game against this team. But yeah, I mean, if we get killed out there, I mean, if I see good things out there, even if we get killed, then at least I saw good things to look forward to. But I'm gonna go ahead and say we draw 2-2.
Yeah, I totally get that with the just hoping to see something promising, because it just hasn't been a lot of that lately. Defensively, I'll say, for the first half of the season, we were one of the better defensive teams in the league in terms of not getting scored on.
Yeah.
And then, that disaster in Tijuana happened, and then it just, it feels like the wheels have come off a little bit since then.
Oh my God, that game was so horrible.
Horrible. Yeah.
Okay.
At least I got a new iPhone when I was up there, because otherwise that trip would have been completely worthless. Yeah.
I'm glad there was a bright side to that trip.
Yeah. I had some pretty good tacos
there
too.
You have it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. I've seen lots of videos and they look really bomb.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Louis predicts a win. I predict a draw. Obviously, we're all, wanting a win. So if Louis is right, especially with that scoreboard, we'll give him big props. But yeah, I think that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining us in our episode where we talked about Nacho Ambriz being back. Yeah, we'll have to get Carlos's thoughts about Nacho Ambriz. I know he's always been a positive Nacho Ambriz throughout the podcast. So I'm really curious to see what he thinks moving forward. Hopefully we can get him on a podcast on a Monday. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining us in this episode. And yeah, make sure you watch Club Leon play this Saturday and enjoy the rest of the Liga MX game. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on another episode.